Hello there. We have another exciting game from an eventful sixth round at the World Cup. This game was kind of crazy. It was evil. It was very evil. It's kind of like a modern variation, completely computer generated, very hard to understand at times. So when guys play like this, it can be kind of like a memory competition. Let's just dive into it. We're looking at the game between Jan-Krzysztof Duda and Vidit from India. So Poland against India, and we open with e4. e5, king's pawn opening, and the Rui Lopez bishop to b5. We've seen a few of those games, including win by Magnus Carlsen very recently. Knight 6, castles, b5, and bishop to c5. So, of course, this is not the main line. This is called the Arcangel, I think. And these lines can get very sharp. So, black develops the bishop a little bit more aggressively than normally. And then the Rui Lopez, we'll put it here. I'll put it here. But there's a downside because, at times the bishop can be hit with tempo. And white immediately goes a4 here, putting pressure on the pawn. We're running to take because of the pin. So either rook b8 or bishop to b7. Rook b8 was played. c3, d6, and now this d4 move, hitting the bishop with tempo. The bishop has to move, bishop to b6. And now this move, a5. And this looks strange. Can black just take this pawn? And the short answer is no. In the game, Vidit went bishop to a7. And you can see from the clock, we got the clock here to your right, and you can see they're moving quite fast because they have more time than they started with. But let's have a quick look. Knight takes a5, then you get hit with rook takes a5, bishop takes a5, and d takes e5. A strange line, and queen d5 is very strong here. Bishop b6, we take the knight, and then we play knight d4. We hit this, and a lot of stuff going on. There's a discovery here, and this is basically winning for white according to the computer. And well, try to find the move, and good luck. The other move would be to take with the bishop. In that case, we can take on e5. This is actually not very good for black because he has to take with the king here. And what's worse, after bishop d5, we have a double attack. You're not going to be able to resolve the attack on these two pieces, especially with the knight protecting the bishop. So, going back to a5, bishop to a7 is what is played here generally. h3, bishop to b7, bishop to e3. Small, quick think by Duda here, bishop e3, knight takes e4 and d5. Very sharp line because, well, there's pressure here, a lot of stuff hanging. But they knew this quite well, as you can see from the clock, and also, well, Duda told us afterwards. And I saw Aniskiri analyzing the position, we'll see a little bit later, and he seemed to recall having analyzed his position. I can tell you that the line that will be played, Duda thought it's a forced draw if black knows what he's doing. But he also said that he was happy with that because he had some problems when he was traveling to the round. He got tied up and almost missed the bus. Actually got it right with Magnus Carlsen, from what I heard. So he was actually ready to just make a draw and play the tie breaks, but black still needs to know his stuff. So he takes on e3, still playing quite fast. D takes c6, and this is still well known by both players. Knight takes f2, queen to e2, knight takes h3, king h1. Actually, I didn't really ponder why we don't take on f2 immediately. Probably because we can take on c6 right away, and then we have some extra options, and then we take on f2. and we can castle. So queen e2 is actually played to force the issue here. Then we take on f2 and queen takes f2. And now with the queen in the fray, things are a little bit different. I found one game where black played bishop c8, but Duda said bishop takes c6 is the only move for black not to be worse. Vidit played that move, and as you can see, he played it quite fast. He still has more time than he started with. And now knight takes e5, which is the point. Here, black plays bishop takes d2. And still, Vidit isn't really thinking. Still some computer lines. I mean, if you take with the queen, there's going to be check here, and this check going to take with the queen. If you take with the king, there's going to be this check, king f1, and then we take here. Black is a bit better. Of course, since we moved the queen, it's not mate, so we can do this. And black has a lot of pawns. He's better, but it's still complicated. So anyway, after bishop takes d2, king g1 was played. Still playing quite fast. And here the main move is supposed to be castles. And Duda showed the line here that he thought was basically a draw. But I don't know if. So Vidit played queen f6 here. A move that Duda wasn't as familiar with. If castles, knight takes f7, queen e7, knight d2 is what he would have played, d5. We have this, king h1 I think. And here black has to play king takes f7. He has to know this, otherwise he could be in trouble. Don't ask me why. And when Duda showed this to Jan-Krzysztof, Jan was like, nobody's gonna play that, see that, play like that. And apparently this should end in a draw. Black can start checking, and it's hard for white to get out of the checks. Here it's going to be check, here it's going to be check, and if you go back check, you go here check, etc. So perpetual. But like I said, Vidit played queen f6, which is a move that Duda wasn't as familiar with. We have a similar line here, knight takes f7, trade, and rook f8. And we have this endgame where black has a bunch of pawns, but white has an extra piece. Basically even material, but some imbalance here. And people actually didn't agree with the assessment if we're playing for 2 results, meaning one side or the other is going to win, or if 3 results were in hand. So here, Asal Giri analyzed this a little bit, and he mentioned that he liked g5 here, indicating that he knew about this line, which makes sense because I believe Vidit has been the second or the assistant of Giri in many cases. So g5 he wanted to play, so after rook f1 check, he can play king g6. In the game, rook e8 was played after 92, and then the king has to go in front of the pawns, and it's more difficult to get the pawns rolling. So king f2, h5, rook g1, king f3, and here Duda was able to start maneuvering his knight quite nicely. Knight to f2. So the aim is to get the knight to the b4 square and target the weak a6 pawn. Rook f8 check, king g2, and here probably an inaccuracy by Vidit. I think rook f4 is the best move according to the computer, intending to get counterplay on this pawn if you go for the same idea of playing knight here. After rook e8, it starts to give white a bit of an edge here. The knight wants to come here, and g5 was played here by Vidit. If you play c5 trying to stop knight b4, we can play knight f4, and now we're threatening king here, targeting the pawns, and also the d5 square. So if you play like move like king f6 not to get pinned, then some problems with this pawn. Good square for the knight, and to white it should be better. After 93 g5, knight b4 was played, and here things are starting to work out in white's favor. He plays king h1 to keep the king being able to fight against these kingside pawns. Rook takes b2, and rook a1 protecting the pawn, and now we want to take Vidit started to try to get some counterplay with c5, but it's too little, too late. And in fact, after b4, at this stage, Duda said he was 100% sure that he was winning. Took on b4 with a knight, and now his a-pawn is simply unstoppable. There's counterplay for black, but it's too late. a7, c2, and a8 queen. Rook b1 check, king g2. So black is able to queen. So we have equal material. Well, black is up 3 pawns actually, and there's a big threat. But, and very important, a rule of thumb, when you have such an endgame, where the board is relatively open, and you're fighting for promotion, you have two heavy pieces, a queen and a rook. The side to queens first and gets to make a move with check usually wins, and usually just checkmates. And that's what we see here. Rook a7, the king has to run. King f6. Queen to f8, and now we can't go to back to g6 because of the lawnmower mate down the g and h files. So we go the other direction. The rook e7, and now queen f3. And we are able to swing over. We could win the queen here, rook takes c1, but queen b7 sets up an unstoppable lawnmower mate. Queen a7, king b5, and queen b8 will be played, followed by rook a7. This is indeed the well-known lawnmower mate, which you should definitely know, and that's why we're plugging our pattern recognition video. Do check it out. Many examples of nice games where we have sacrifices leading to the lawnmower mate, which in its core is simple, but knowing the pattern can be very, very useful indeed. And here it won the game for Jan-Krzysztof Duda, who has qualified to the semifinals, and there he will play his driver from today, Magnus Carlsen. Will be an interesting matchup, and not too long ago, Duda was able to beat Magnus with the white pieces against the Caro-Kann. So who knows, maybe Duda can throw a spanner in the works, beat Magnus and qualify for the candidates. That will be something else. But only time will tell. Tomorrow tie breaks, but on Saturday the action continues in the semifinals. Anyway, hope to see you soon. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.